My name is James Bennett, and I'm from Troop 39 Phillipston and currently working on my Eagle project. As part of my Eagle project, I've been making this video to raise awareness towards food insecurity in our local communities, as well as the charitable organizations that are helping to mitigate this issue as best they can. I have noticed that there are a large number of food drives and food collections in the later months of the year during holiday season. However, in the other parts of the year, there's a major deficit. I'm hoping to close that deficit with the help of my Eagle project, which I have called The Need Goes On, to raise awareness towards this issue as well as other issues in our communities. With me today are people from different charities that provide service for people in our local area. First off is Amy McGee of the Gardner CIC.
Hello.
Could you please give us a little bit about what your job is at the CIC?
At the Gardner CAC, we are an organization that helps low-income families with food insecurity, and also we guide them to different organizations if they're looking for housing or any other information that they need.
And to her left is Stephanie Marchetti, which is the Executive Director of the Montechusett Veterans Outreach Center. Could you please tell us a little bit about what you do?
Montechusett Veterans Outreach Center, much more easily called MVOC, is a housing and supportive services organization for veterans throughout North Central Mass. We have a variety of different housing programs, a food and clothing pantry, a food box delivery program, free mental health counseling, financial assistance grants, suicide prevention programming, outreach and benefits advisement, as well as some limited medical transportation.
All right, I appreciate all of you coming here today to actually help make this video happen. So I just have a few small questions for you guys. Could you please tell us how your organization helps the community?
Our organization helps the community by, our main thing is a food pantry, as I said. In 2024, we served over 9,000 individuals, and that is now a 63% increase in the past years that we are serving. We give them also a meal kit. They can come once a month to get food. We have a clothing area where people can get free clothes and they get to pick through them. We also sometimes have vouchers that we can give them if we have availability. And we also guide them, as I said before, to veteran outreach. We send people their way if they're a veteran for sure, but we can also help sometimes with housing to get them some utility or their rent.
Wonderful. Mrs. Marchetti?
Sure. So at MVOC, our largest operation is our housing operation. We have about 50 units of housing between our shelter program, our 2 group homes, and our low-income apartments that are all dedicated exclusively to veterans. We serve about 800 veterans a year, though. So in addition to those 50 housing units, veterans come to see us largely for the free, no insurance needed mental health counseling that we offer. There are very long wait times to get mental health counseling, and we do not have any wait times. We'll take you as soon as you need it. Veterans also largely come to see us for benefits advisement, depending on their time in the service and issues they may have incurred while they were in the service or injuries they may have gotten. We can help connect them with benefits that they've earned, which is a monthly income based on the need that they have based on their time in the service. As well as our food and clothing pantry. So our food pantry is open 3 days a week, and it is open to veterans whether they live with us or not, and also available to veterans whether they live in Gardner or not.
Do you know roughly how many families rely on your organization for aid?
MVOC, like I said, we serve about 800 veterans a year. That is not just throughout North Central Massachusetts, but actually last year we served veterans in 13 states and 2 countries. Because the veteran population is very, very tight-knit, if one of them gets good service and tells other folks from their unit, word spreads. So largely the mental health counseling and benefits advisement can work with people remotely to help them, whether they live nearby or not. But it equates to around 800 a year with a staff of only about 23.
Mrs. McGee?
Yeah, as I said, we served over 9,000 individuals last year, and that's including families, senior citizens we serve a lot of, the homeless community we serve, and that's in Gardner, Westminster, Ashburnham, and Hubbardston are the communities that we service. If someone came from outside those towns, we do serve them at least once, and then we guide them in the direction they need to go to their local food pantry to make it easier for them. But we have many age groups, people that are 20 years old that are out on their own for the first time, they're realizing they need the help and they are coming to us, which is great, because that's what we want.
Do you believe that we can increase donations outside of normal holiday drives or the holiday giving season?
Most definitely, one of the big things, as we were saying before, social media is definitely helping increase the drive, because we put it out there on our pages stating the items that we need or the help that is needed. And that is definitely one of the ways that we are promoting it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think about donating to food pantries around Thanksgiving and Christmas time, which is awesome because all of our organizations provide meals then.
Yeah.
But the other time I would encourage folks to think about donating to pantries is when school gets out.
Yes.
Because then your kids are home all day, eating all of the food in your home all day. And there's a huge, huge kick up during that time of the year. So when you think about summer, think about donating peanut butter and jelly.
Yes. And those snacks.
What items do you guys think that's most needed from your food pantries that you guys don't normally receive?
I know for us is like personal hygiene items is a big thing we don't get a lot of, because people don't think of that as a food pantry. Basic items for food pantry, though, a lot of people also don't give us spices.
Yeah, I was going to say that
Yes.
one too. A lot of beans, nothing to make them taste good.
Right, exactly. Those I know are some of the items we need.
Yeah, I would agree. I always tell people to do spice drives if they want to do something, especially because you can get spices at the Dollar Tree, right? It's a really easy thing for everyday people to contribute to. We also try to provide household and cleaning items in the pantry as well. Laundry detergent is an excellent thing to donate, as well as Lysol wipes, paper towels. Think about things that maybe food stamps would not cover.
Yes.
And those are the things that we rely solely on donations to get.
That is us also.
Yeah.
Can openers are always a good item also, because not every can is a flip top. So those are a great item, because we do have families that don't have them.
Yeah, especially when you're serving the homeless population.
Yeah, or also that the ones that do have the pop tops could have manufactural defects
Oh,
and just break
goodness,
off. So then that can's pretty much just useless. So that's another reason. Is there anything else that's unique about your organization that you guys would like to share?
One of the big things about the organization for us that's unique, and that's the program I mainly run, is the fellowship table. That is a meal that I serve October through May, every Thursday at 4:30, open to anybody, and it's a drive-through, and I serve 150 people weekly. And then in the summer, in July and August, I do a lunch at noontime, and that is usually 100 people actually also. And I also do partnership with the Gardner Senior Center, and we do a senior cafe lunch meal that I do also, and that's 3 days a week. And we do a toy program, an extra holiday basket for them, and we do an amazing backpack program, and that's open for the communities I had mentioned, Hubbardston, Ashburnham, Westminster, and Gardner, and also Templeton's included in the backpack program for any kids from kindergarten to 12th grade. So those are a few of the things that we stand out on.
Yeah, you guys are a lot more than food, and I don't think people realize how much you all do. You do a lot. So at MVOC, one of the things that I like to make sure veterans know is that we serve all veterans, which means we serve veterans regardless of their discharge status and regardless of their activation level. So what that means for folks that aren't veterans means is if you served in the National Guard or you served in the reserves and you were never activated or called to duty, you may have served in the Guard or reserves for 20 years and leave with no benefits and no connection, no eligibility for health care, just because you weren't called to duty. But at MVOC, we believe you were willing to be called to duty, you were trained to it, and so we will support you. We also support our LGBTQIA+ veterans, and so it's really important to us that those who are affected by Don't Ask, Don't Tell know that they have a safe place to come to talk to about those things, and we'll try to help them get their benefits as well.
One of the other big things I didn't mention is we do a medical transportation for seniors that are in Gardner, and we go to Worcester, Leominster, Fitchburg, surrounding communities, but that is a big program that has grown drastically in the last year.
Yeah. And there's a huge need.
Yes, there is. So,
Thank you guys so much for being here today and allowing me to share this information with the public on this issue. my name is James Bennett. I am from Troop 39 Phillipston. I'm here today at the Templeton Food Pantry, and this is Director, Ms. Chocote. Could you give us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, yes. I have the privilege of managing the Templeton Food Pantry. My organization, New Hope Bible Chapel, has managed the food pantry since November of 2020.
Could you give us a little tour of our area?
I would love to give you a tour. So as you came in the door, you came into what I call the intake room. This is where our guests will stay the entire time. And they come up to this shelf here and they would fill out this form and they get to circle what it is that they would like. They get to come once a week and it's front and back. And they have some write-ins from our board here. They get to choose some meats and some other items and write those in. And when they are finished with that, they'll put it through the slot. And that brings us to the other side of the food pantry. Our guests don't come beyond this point. This is where our volunteers come. If you want to follow me. So this is where all the action happens. So my volunteers will bring the form to this table and then they start running down the aisles and getting all the different food items that our guests circled, and they'll bag them in bags and then we hand them to our guests or help them out to their car. But if you'd like to follow me, so down this first aisle, these are dry, non-perishable items. So basically it starts with all the canned vegetables, then we go into canned soups and canned meats like tuna and salmon and chicken, and then we have side dishes like stuffing and rice and beans, and then down here we have canned fruit and we have crackers and cookies and again more beans and things like that. And as we go around the corner, this is pretty much our baking aisle with all the good cake box cake mixes and brownies and things like that. And then here are condiments, ketchup, mustard, relish, mayo, and these are just some extraneous items. Then we get into shelf-stable milk and juices, and I'm pretty happy to say that we even have a gluten-free and a vegan section because there are some people in our community who have those needs. And then we go on to pasta sauce and pasta and mac and cheese and all those kinds of things you would expect in a food pantry. And then once again around this corner, we start with boxed cereal and oatmeal, pancake mixes and syrups. And then we go into peanut butter, jelly, coffee, tea, and then household items. Household items are really important. And whenever I have to evaluate if there's anything I need to delete for financial reasons, I try not to take away personal products or household items because many people who are receiving food stamps don't cover things like toilet paper, paper towels, laundry detergent, dish liquid, soap. Those are items that I think everybody should have access to. So I always make sure we have them. Then we have some personal care items, and I even have a partnership with a pet food task force. And down here you'll see dry cat food and wet cat food and some dry dog food. So we even know that some of our guests will have pets that they need to care for and they can get those items. Then if you follow me, you'll notice that we have several refrigerators and freezers. And in here we have items such as eggs, cheese, butter, and all kinds of meats. And then of course bread, all kinds of bread products. So with that said, that's pretty much our food pantry.
Thank you so much for showing us your facility. So, could you tell me what towns do you serve outside of Templeton with this food pantry?
Sure. Well, that has changed over time. There was a time when we first took over the food pantry during the height of COVID where we didn't turn anyone away. We took anyone regardless of where they lived, no matter how far away they were. And we did that for a while. And then just for fiscal reasons, we had to limit it. So we allowed any town that bordered Templeton, town or city that bordered Templeton. And we did that for about a year and a half. But again, our budget began dwindling, and I want this food pantry to be sustainable. I don't ever want it to have to close. I want it to remain the way that we run it, allowing choice to our clients. So I had to make the very difficult decision of currently only allowing Templeton and Phillipston residents. Phillipston because they do partner with our school. They're both part of our school system. So currently it's Templeton and Phillipston. Of course, Templeton, that includes Otter River, Baldwinville, East Templeton.
All right. What are some difficulties of running a food pantry?
Difficulties. Well, it's not really difficult, but probably the most challenging thing is volunteers. Just making sure we're always manning the food pantry all the hours that we're open. I do have about 30 volunteers, but life gets busy, and we like to always have at least 2 people at all times for safety reasons, and just because it can get very busy. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we need at least 3 or 4 people. So it's a challenge to always make sure that all the hours that we are open are covered. So that's probably our biggest challenge.
What are some of the items that you're constantly in need throughout the year?
Sure. Items we can always use are dry cereal, juice, probably the Chef Boyardee products like beefaroni, spaghetti and meatballs, that kind of thing. They're very popular. Of course, pasta, boxed pasta and pasta sauce are always needed at all times.
What time of year do donations usually dwindle or slow down?
Well, I'm going to take that backwards and say that during November and December, we receive the majority of our monetary donations. And during those times, we'll get an influx, but that primarily has to sustain us the rest of the year, because after the holidays, there are some organizations and some individuals that are consistent throughout the year, but in comparison to what we receive in November and December, it dwindles considerably. And what we get during those 2 months pretty much has to sustain us the rest of the year. That's monetary donations. As far as food donations, again, we'll see an uptick around the holidays mostly, but food donations continue throughout the year, but not as much as during those 2 months.
So it's a major down spike during spring and summer, and then
Absolutely.
up spikes during fall and winter, roughly.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And fall, mostly November and December.
So then, finally, is there anything else unique from your organization that you'd like to share?
Unique. I was sharing with James earlier that what I think is unique about our food pantry is when our guests come in, they are allowed to choose what they would like. We have a form where they can circle the items that they want, and then my volunteers will bag it up for them and give it to them. And for me, that is a win-win, because if they're choosing it, they're most likely going to consume it. When they're just given something, we don't know if they have allergies to it or if they don't care for it. So at least here, they get to choose, and I feel good that it will minimize food waste.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for being here today and allowing me to share this information with the public on this issue. I will also be creating a brochure to give at food drives and donation events, which will contain contact information for these charities and organizations. Thank you so much to TCTV for their giving their time and equipment to make this video possible.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Thank you.
my name is James Bennett. I am from Troop 39 Phillipston. With me today are representatives from various organizations that are helping to mitigate this issue. First off, we have Julie Meehan, which is the Executive Director of the Gardner CAC. Could you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, my name's Julie. I'm the Executive Director of the Gardner CAC. We serve the greater Gardner community, and we serve about 900 people every month through our food pantry.
All right. Then we have Susanna Whips, a House Representative for the 2nd Franklin District.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Susanna. I represent Winchington, Phillipston, Royalston, Athol, Orange, Warwick, Irving, Northfield, Gill, and half of the city of Greenfield. And I'm thrilled to be here with you tonight.
Thank you so much. And then we have John Zlotnick, which is a House Representative from the 2nd Worcester District.
Glad to be here as well. So I am a member of the House from the city of Gardner, and I also represent the town of Templeton, as well as most of the town of Winchington, along with Rep. Whips, and the town of Ashburnham as well.
Thank you all so much for coming today. Now, I just have a few small questions for you all. My first one is, how do you help food pantries at the state level?
So the state provides, in the form of different supports, mostly financial, to local food banks and food pantries in a few different ways. Sometimes that's in direct funding that then the food pantry can use for whatever they need. Every food pantry works a little bit differently. Every community works a little bit differently. So some of that funding is a bit more open-ended, but then some comes directly for specific programs dealing with food insecurity. Some of that money comes from the federal government through the state in the form of other food assistance programs or direct-to-farm type programs. Massachusetts has some newer programs dealing with that about purchasing produce directly from local farms, produce and other farm products directly from local farms, and then giving it to food pantries or utilizing those funds to shift those food items that way. And then in Gardner, we have somewhat of a unique opportunity in that the prison in Gardner, the North County Correctional Institute, maintains quite a vast garden that they use for their own food needs, but then quite a bit of that ends up being surplus that gets donated back to the Gardner CAC as well.
Yeah. Mrs. Whips, could you tell us a little about what you think?
I have been involved in food insecurity before I was actually in the legislature. I've always volunteered for local pantries, and the need has just grown so much in recent years. I'm very active with Quabbin Harvest, which is a local food co-op, which does CSA's farm shares for people who are below the poverty level. We also, the HIP program, which Rep. Zlotnick had talked about, is a wonderful program that allows people who are receiving SNAP benefits, which SNAP is supplemental nutrition that comes from the federal government through the USDA. Basically, food stamps is what it was known as previously. People who are in that program are able to go to a farmer's market or to a co-op and purchase fresh local food, which is a win for the folks, because anytime you can eat food closer to the source, it's more packed with vitamins. We know the longer it sits in a truck or a warehouse or anything, it loses some of the essential nutrients that we need. So having access to food that's grown locally, and also this has been a tremendous help to our farmers as well, having people able to have the added money to go to a farmer's market and support our farmers. So the HIP program has really been a win-win all along. And as we noticed in the legislature, how popular this program began, we created a grant program through MDAR, which is the Massachusetts Department of Agriculture, for food security grants, where our co-op could get a new freezer or new cooling products, or some of our farmers could have access to machinery and processing equipment that they needed for their farms. So when we see a need, we're very fortunate in Massachusetts that we work with everybody to come up with a program, a grant system, or some sort of way to help folks. Because, I mean, food should be a basic human right. I think we all agree with that.
The other thing I'll add too is that either through direct appropriations or through programs managed by MDAR. One thing that the state plays a big role in is sort of capital expenditures. So a food pantry, there's a lot of big equipment that they need: freezers, coolers, all those kind of things, right, to keep food fresh longer. And those can be very expensive to have to purchase on their own. So oftentimes the state will help, if not pick up the entire tab for that. And then actually one thing that I'll let Julie talk about more. I'm sure it'll come up. But the pop-up pantries that the Gardner CAC runs are funded through an appropriation from the state government as well.
Yeah, one of the things that we see regularly is that there's a lot of barriers to healthy food, which is how we created the pop-up pantries, where we go out into the community at different locations and we bring everything that's at the food pantry, we bring it with us, fresh fruits, vegetables, shelf-stable items, meats, dairy, all of that items, and distribute them right out into the community. And thanks to the earmark from the state, we were able to do that.
How do you think people could help other people in need without being able to directly donate foods? From what you guys have seen as?
I would say to spread awareness, to advocate, to encourage people that they know that might need help, even if they don't directly and they're not able to, if they know somebody that needs help, to refer them to a soft handoff to an agency. Just let them know where they can go, share resources that they know of. If there's an event that's coming up that a food pantry or other agency is having, share that information.
And I know Julie's always looking for strong individuals of donations, but then also just work to help organize donations that come in. There's a lot of labor that goes in to managing a food pantry, and the more of that can be done by volunteers, keeping costs down, the more funds that can be applied directly to the issue.
Yeah, I can speak to the CAC. We have 4 employees and about 90 volunteers throughout the year. So volunteers are key to making us able to do what we are.
And I also think we need to focus on removing the stigma from people wanting to get help. A lot of people we deal with on a regular basis, you know, when they come to our offices, they don't come in because their houses are warm and their cupboards are full. They come in when they're really struggling. And I think it's really important that we all not only refer people, but really work to remove the stigma, because there should be no shame in poverty. I mean, we need to fight poverty rather than, you know, fight poor people. And it gets frustrating to me sometimes when you hear unkind things, or, you know, it's really important for us as a community and us as a Commonwealth. There's only 4 states in the entire country that consider themselves Commonwealth, and the Commonwealth is this political ideology that we're going to look out for each other. And I think it's, you know, really important at the end of the day that we do step up and we do make sure that our neighbors are warm and have food in their cupboards.
I think kind of to echo that, what we see so often at the CAC is in a moment, somebody's life can change, whether it's a car accident, a loss of a job, a reduction in hours, loss of a family member, just like that.
What do you think are the best methods to helping people in need that you guys have seen at state levels?
I think making that help accessible. You know, we've changed a lot of the way we do these things in recent years because, you know, I think it's about meeting people where they're at. You know, Julie talked about the pop-up pantries. That's so important because for some people, transportation can be a big hindrance, especially for older folks who might not get around as well. So going out to places that they live or normally go to can help bridge that gap. It can also help with the stigma issue. But I think also making sure that, you know, we're doing things in a way that are actually helping folks, right? Like, you know, we often dealt with this issue at the CAC where some things that are donated aren't as easy to use as other things. And, you know, if someone's handed a particular food item that, you know, they might never have cooked before, that can be very intimidating. And can be a big hurdle towards actually getting someone the help that they need. So in recent years, we've tried to do more in terms of prepping food ahead of time, or changing the type of items, or just trying to educate folks as well. Do you want to talk about the crock pots?
Yeah. So a few years ago, we started the Dinners on Us program. We've kind of dubbed it Hello Fresh Meat Slow Cooker. One of the things that we see so often, I think that everybody sees, is the cost of healthy food is far more expensive than an easy McDonald's drive-through, even for that matter, and the ability to cook and transportation to get to. So we created the Dinners on Us program that provides families with a brand new slow cooker, a sheet pan, fully prepped meal. Sliced, diced, seasoning is included. So when they get home or if they leave for work, they can put that chicken roast right in the crock pot with all the vegetables they can home, and it's a fresh, healthy meal right at home. In that, we also include information for the SNAP and HIP program so that they'll have access, and it's not as intimidating when you get a pamphlet. So you can at least build that relationship.
That's fantastic, and we do a protein bundle similar to that out in Orange, where we want to teach people how to cook. And again, a whole chicken. You can get a roast chicken dinner. You can get chicken salad the next day and a chicken soup the next day. And it's much more affordable if you know how to maneuver around a whole chicken. Also at the co-op, if you get a kohlrabi in your farm share, most people look at it and say, what in the world am I going to do with this thing? So they do offer, they cut it up. They have one for sample for people to try, and they explain to you how they can prepare it and sending you, home with recipe cards and things like that. And it's really kind of exciting because people want to try new things. And I think if you let them learn a little bit, they're less intimidated by it.
What organizations do you guys work with that address this issue of food insecurity?
Well, in addition to the CAC, we also work with a regional organization called Growing Places, which soon will be a neighbor of the CAC at their new location in Gardner. And they do actually a lot of that end of things. They work directly with farmers. They work directly to prep food. Because along those same lines, one of the things for years that we've kind of struggled with as far as produce is concerned is butternut squash. Because butternut squash, if you don't know what you're doing with it, can be pretty intimidating, especially for people with arthritis or older people who have a hard time, skinning a butternut squash can be tough. Cubing a butternut squash can be tough. So we've actually partnered with that organization to buy a machine that can peel and dice any kind of squash, I guess. But really, butternut is the thing that we have in this part of the country in abundance. And it's about, again, trying to break down some of those barriers. But that's another organization we work with on top of the CAC. And then also Winchendon has a CAC as well that does work in this space. And it all stems from the Worcester County Food Bank, where we get most of our food. But then there's programs run through the United Way and some other charitable endeavors that kind of pick up bits and pieces of it along the way too.
Yeah, we're seeing food pantries now at Mount Wachusett Community College. We have a family center and food pantry at Athol High School. The need is expanding, and back when we were your age, and there was the cost of living was much less, and oftentimes one parent could work and the other parent was able to be home, and we're seeing the cost of living is skyrocketing up, where wages and income just aren't keeping up. So there's a lot of people right now who are looking to supplement what they have, and again, we have resources. You could reach out to any one of the three of us, and we could lead you in your community to somebody who can help you find those resources.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we see at work is 40% of our population are working families. So we do see that families of just struggling to meet inflation costs, heating costs, everything.
And I think that's why programs like Dinners on Us are really important, because there are cheaper ways to feed yourself. It's just that there can be a number of barriers to that: time, knowledge, experience. So that's an important piece, I think, of addressing this issue, is that, again, oftentimes if you know a little bit of food prep, you can feed yourself and your family for a far lower cost than buying a lot of pre-made meals, which, on top of oftentimes being less healthy for you, are also more expensive for for the meal value of it. And so that's an important piece, I think, of what we do some of, but I think we have to be more creative in how we deliver some of that as well.
My last question to you all, is there anything else that's on like your mind that you'd like to talk about at all?
Volunteer. I mean, we need bodies, and even if it's just, if you have a senior neighbor who has trouble getting to the store regularly, pitch in there. Or, I mean, everybody wants to help, and sometimes I think if they're asked, they step right up and they want to help. So I think today we're asking everybody who's seeing this, reach out and offer to help out at the CAC, or the senior center in Templeton has a pantry, and there's pantries all across the area. And pitch in, and a lot of those people who show up and volunteer qualify for that assistance as well. So they come in and they put in their time, and they're able to leave with, good produce and some goodies to help with their family. So please, pitch in where you can.
Yeah. And one of the most rewarding things I will say about being at the CAC, and I'll speak to that since I work there, is that you actually get to see people's kindness in action. You get to see firsthand the impact of somebody's donation of food going out and feeding a family that day. And I don't think you can find that feeling too many places.
And the other thing I'll touch on, because I know we get some of this at the CAC, but you can garden yourself and contribute some of what you're able to grow at home, to the food pantry. That can be a good source of what we
Absolutely.
get, and it's another way for people to contribute at pretty low cost.
Thank you all so much for being here today and allowing me to share this information with the public on this issue. I will also be creating a brochure to use at all the food drives and donation events, which will contain the information from these charities and organizations. Thank you so much to TCTV for providing their time and equipment to make this whole thing possible, and I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you so much.